I know that asking AI questions is something that causes real damage to living people's lives, and it's something I don't like doing very often. But when the default search function, is there any way to... Fucking, I can turn that off. Okay, good. Previously, the default search function always answered my searches with AI half the time, which on one hand was functionally useful, but on the other hand was incredibly annoying, especially after a friend morality checked me. I'm thankful they did that, because it's left me sitting with all of this and going, why do I consider using this, even when there is potential negative output? And though I hate saying it, in a world where doing things by hand is going to take more time, that only allows the problem to fester in the long term versus the short term pain, it's a cost based decision. Am I the person to be making it? No. Do I think I have the absolute right to be making it? No. But there's no clear answer to this question. It all depends on where you're standing and viewing it from, and that's really the most frustrating part. Because in that context, then, it becomes difficult to talk with those and communicate potentially useful key information and pass it along to those who would hate the methods you got it with, but would still be able to put it to better use than you ever would. I don't know what to do about that. I don't. I'm going to record this answer because I already got it and I didn't think of an alternate solution to getting this answer before I had created it. But to just throw it aside and leave it unarchived, unacknowledged, would be the same as making every single ounce of pain or suffering that this answer caused via the noise generated and added to AI processing data centers. It would make it pointless. It would make it even more cruelly useless. And I don't want to take people's lives for granted by simply trying to stand on moral high ground. Well, when doing so, simply causes more people to be hurt in the long term as well as the short term. And I guess that's something I'm gonna have to sit with. Sometimes I think I'm too serious for my own good, but given the video I just watched, I think I'm being serious enough. I just know better than to share it with people who can't handle that seriousness. Everything costs something. If my morality is going to cost me the very lives it seeks to protect, then is that really serving the greater good of the people? That's something I'm left to sit with. And that so long as that central goal doesn't change, then that's a good measure to navigate by. no matter how frustrating or overcomplicated it gets. I want to keep sitting with that question. Prone to absolute nonsense. Not surprising. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the reason why I want to invest in the people. Not the government, not the institutions, not the systems, but the people. And I want to find a way to do so consistently. Something that can be passed down between generations, even when generational trauma gets in the way. Oh. We would rather excuse things than be willing to admit that things might be more serious. Exactly. True mark of maturity is possessing the ability to recognize that you do not, in fact, know everything. And the way to improve the world is through mutual understanding and empathy, not judgment. But the capacity necessary to take that recognition and put it into action is a huge gap that most people never get across because it hurts. It hurts, and it means sacrificing the easy life that we were all given in the midst of the lie. Hmm. I'm gonna keep scrolling through the comments section of this video. Because a lot of people have a lot of interesting things to say. And YouTube does such a horrible job of representing that. Actually, an insane and disconnected from reality, yeah. Maybe that's the reason why I don't find shows like Smiling Friends or Invader Zim interesting to me, because I kinda already see it. I'm left to live with that in my day-to-day life. And I don't want to have to look at it again through the lens of fiction just to be shown, yeah, no, you can't avoid this. It's frustrating. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's, I think, the biggest thing that I'm struggling with is learning how to serve as a warning for those, learning how to present both myself and the information I wish to convey in such a way that I don't become erratic and annoying to others, even if I am right and am not given attention or respect that I deserve. Because we all deserve many things more than we are ever given. But no one is ever indebted to give us those things except through legal contract, fear, and power. As such, I do not want to live up to that level of paranoia. Hmm. Strong enough to just deal with the invasion if it comes. Yeah. But do nothing about it because they just want to be left alone. Representation of that. I can agree to that. Be the pillar of strength, and you will build a community of that same kind of strength around you. However, an inability to allow yourself to learn and different kinds of strength, different kinds of confidence, and allow yourself to hold multiple types of strength at the same time only ever serves to, in the end, enforce the cycle. Oh, now that's a comment that has a good insight. It's not that it's not that people were unable to see a threat because it was socially uncomfortable to look at, how weird the threat was, but because it was socially uncomfortable to acknowledge a threat due to how pervasive existential threats are in that world. So it's a world full of vile, horrible, life-threatening terror all the time. So like thing is Zim is just another thing on the pile. Like everyone treats Dib like he's crazy because he believes in aliens. No one ever notices or points out any real problems, of which there are countless, and there's this kid obsessed with an imaginary quote unquote problem. Quote unquote imaginary problem. Quote imaginary unquote problem. When the self works for the ego instead of the ego working for the self, things collapse and decay. Hmm. Idiocracy is not genetic. The core of that idea is just stupid. Idiocracy is formed through environmental factors, not genetics. The fact that someone thought it was based on genetics is part of the reason why it's a problem in the first place. Because it's the simplest idea that gets through first. Not the correct idea, not the healthy or responsible idea, but the simplest idea. And if you cannot make use of the simplest idea to create positive effect, then ultimately there is no room for the mature idea, which is the frustrating part. Thought it was something else. I'm only going back through and looking through the replies to see if there's any really thoughtful comments that have just been compressed into almost nothingness. Not everything. He was right about the context that he was shown through, not the context left unshown. If you get paranoid over what is and isn't shown, then ultimately you end up getting trapped in the cyclical loops of, are someone messing with me? It's just like, take the information on face value. If you can't take the information on face value because you feel like there's something underneath it, run with that. And if you're wrong, own up to it. Oh, that's a terrifying possibility for humanity. The fact that the leaders are a pair of snack-obsessed numbskulls, and yet their antics rarely even slow the that or Empire's conquest of the universe down, is the most dangerous thing about that society. By that point, it's become self-sustaining, so even if every competent leader was accidentally killed by a defective mutant like Zim, the inertia of Irken fervor, the inertia of that civilization's fervor for conquest quest and their superior technology means it doesn't matter who is the leader. Oh. Hmm. A lot to digest now, mentally. In any case,